Now,
Hi everyone, good evening. Today we're gonna start with another of our webinars at LeanDreams. It's called the topic for today's discussion is stress management and weight loss. Oftentimes we struggle to lose weight and we're doing everything right. We are eating clean, we are exercising, we're doing everything that's required, everything that our coaches are telling us, everything that our um, we've been told to do. However, we still struggle to lose weight, and we often miss out a very key component of weight loss, which is stress management. Stress can have an impact on weight loss. I think um, it was it was something that earlier wasn't paid a lot of attention to, but now we are also trying to tackle weight loss very holistically, weight gain very holistically, and hence I think focusing on weight management becomes stress management becomes extremely crucial. Um, my name is Nihit. Just a quick introduction here. I am a psychologist and a behavioral health coach, and I will be your host for today. I'll be the speaker for today. I have been working as a psychologist for the last 4 years. I've been associated with Lean Dreams from the very beginning, and it's been wonderful here hosting webinars. Um, and I'm here again, so it's really nice. It's really nice to be here, and welcome to our webinar for this month. We'll start with understanding what stress is, but before that, I would like us to maybe take a couple of minutes um, just to reflect on how stress can impact us, right? Um, I want you to think about a time in your life when you were under a lot of stress, you were maybe going through a lot. It could be something very recent as well, it could be something a long while ago as well. Um, take a minute or so, try to understand what happened, um, and also how it started impacting you. How it impacted your eating habits, how it impacted your energy levels, how it impacted your mood, how it impacted your uh, health in general. I'll give you an example from my own personal experience. Recently, I took up a new project and it was a minor adjustment. It did change my routine a bit and it was a little stressful for me. And I did notice a minor change in my eating habits. I had started to eat a little more because I was because of the stress levels I had. Um, I was also experiencing some sleep issues because of that. But I think gradually uh, the adaptation happened and I was able to cope with it. But uh, oftentimes we sort of go through something like this where stress often causes a lot of physiological and psychological and emotional responses from us, right? This is just a meme I've came across once, so I thought I'll share it with you. So yeah, coming to the emotional responses or physical responses. So oftentimes when we're stressed, we start overeating a little, we start craving more junk food, we often lose our appetite or we don't eat at all. We feel fatigued, we feel very sluggish, we can have trouble sleeping, we sometimes get headaches or there's a lot of muscle tension in your body. You notice a lot of tightness near your shoulders, your neck, your muscles in general. You can feel very anxious, you can feel very irritable as well. You're not in the right mood, maybe we're picking up fights with everybody around us. So all of these are signs that we might be stressed, and sometimes we don't really know that we are going through stress. We experience a lot of these symptoms. We experience uh, we know there's something wrong, but then we don't really know if it's stress. And if you're going through these symptoms for a while, there's a possibility that you might be under some kind of stress. So I think understanding the signs of stress becomes extremely crucial as well here, before we sort of understand how to deal with stress, because only once you have the awareness that okay, there's something is not right now, I think that's what will also help you take the step in the right direction around managing the stressors that you're going through. So yeah, let's understand what stress is. Stress is your body's response to a demand or a challenge. Like I said, in my situation, it was me taking up a new project. So it was a new thing that I was doing. It was a demand. It was a challenge to me, and it was my body responded in a certain manner to something that was extremely new, um, and something that was a little demanding and challenging. You can have physical, emotional, psychological responses. um, Stress can be, sometimes it can be short term, it can be acute in nature, it can be short term and situational. In a lot of cases, stress can be chronic, it could be long term, it could be ongoing for a longer time. But the question here is all stress bad for us? Um, is all stress really harmful? Um, Not really. Stress, we often categorize stress into good stress and bad stress. Good stress is something, it's also called eustress, something that helps us motivated, something that helps us enhance our performance, something that pushes us to achieve, and pushes us out of our comfort zone. It's largely short term. Distress is the bad stress. Bad stress or distress is chronic stress that leads to negative health effects. Um, it is not really good for your health. An example can be, let's say, a small deadline that you, or your daily targets, or your deadlines of completing a project, etc., could be a good stress because it's motivating you, it's pushing you to complete your task, etc. However, let's say you're working in a place which the work environment is not very nice, there's a lot of pressure, um, maybe the co-workers aren't great, and all of that ends up creating a lot more work pressure, leading to chronic stressors for you. So that's the dichotomy between good stress and bad stress. I'll show that using this image here again. So stress to some extent is good, because if there's no stress, you'll be completely bored. You will not have any motivation to do anything. When you have a little bit of arousal, a little bit of stress, you the good stress basically, you try to, you push yourself out of your comfort zone. You reach a point of optimal stress where, or optimal arousal, where there is enough, where there's a lot of growth, where there's a lot of learning, a lot of creativity, you're challenged, um, and it's a very nice place to be. Sometimes you're also in the state of flow where you're really enjoying the work that you're doing as well. However, uh, if the amount of stress increases beyond the optimal limit, our performance also falls down. We get more fatigued, we get more tired, we are more exhausted, we are under a lot of stress. This, in the long run, causes burnout. We start feeling anxious, we start panicking, there's a lot of fear, right? And oftentimes people really wait for burnout to happen. We often wait for the anxiety or the panic to sort of seep in, before we start taking an action. Um, and then that's when we reach out to psychiatrists, that's when we reach out to for mental health care, we start working on ourselves. Um, and I think if we sort of just maybe start working on our stressors a little early, or we not just work from a very diagnostic um, uh, way, but maybe working on our mental health also from a preventative point of view. Um, I think that will actually help us stay in the state of optimal learning and optimal growth zone, and where we continue to grow and continue to be motivated. So, hence, while some stress is good, a lot of it is harmful for us, and it's good to sort of work on it at the right point in time. Now, let's understand the physiological mechanism of stress as well. Stress is um, not just psychological, it's also very physical in nature. Like we discussed before, you see a lot of physical symptoms in your body, right? You know when you're stressed, you know your body responds a certain way, right? So whenever we are experiencing a demand, we're experiencing a challenge, our body goes through the activation of the HPA axis, which is the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis. Um, so your thyroid gland is somewhere, sorry, your hypothalamus is somewhere here. You have your pituitary gland somewhere here. It releases a lot of hormones. It also activates your adrenal glands to sort of secrete adrenaline and cortisol, and all of these chemicals are in your blood, and it increases your heart rate, it increases your uh, lung capacity. It's sort of, your blood pressure is high, your sugar levels are high, you're very hyper vigilant, you have a tunnel vision, your digestion slows down. um, your body is sort of preparing itself for a fight or flight situation. Your body is preparing itself to deal with the challenge, right? And so this is what happens in the body. Your body also goes through and experiences the stress that's happening, and long-term exposure to these stressors can cause a lot of metabolic imbalances. It can cause serious issues, which we're going to cover later in the discussion today. Yeah, so coming to the impact of stress on our overall health. Mm, Stressors can impact our cardiovascular system. It increases, it has the risk of increasing our heart disease. It increases our blood pressure. A lot of people who are chronically stressed have blood pressure issues. Um, a lot of people who have been chronically stressed also have diabetes. People have chronic mental and physical health conditions resulting from stressors in general. Stress can cause digestive problems like IBS, ulcers, acid reflux. Prolonged or chronic stress, like we discussed, can cause anxiety. It can cause mental health conditions like depression, mood swings, mood disorders. It also weakens your immune system, which makes you susceptible to infections as well. So, stress in general, a prolonged or the bad stress we're talking about, can have severe consequences in the long run if not managed at the right time. And that sort of highlights the importance of managing our stressors at the right point in time. Now, I think the reason we are here to sort of understand how stress is linked to our weight gain. Like I said, we often uh, try to do everything that's associated with weight loss and weight gain. We are working out, we are sleeping well, we are exercising, but we often fail to understand the significance of stress in our weight management. And it's very important to understand the concept from a holistic manner here. So stress in general is linked to increase in weight gain. By It increases your cortisol levels, which promotes fat storage, especially around the abdominals. A lot of visceral fat um, can be a result of high levels of stress as well, and high levels of cortisol in your body. When you're stressed, there's a lot of emotional eating. There's You're craving for more high calorie food, more sugary food. All of that in the long run again leads to weight gain. There's a lot of hormonal imbalance around. There are a lot of the hormones like leptin and ghrelin that help you reduce your cravings and manage your hunger, making you feel full and give you this feeling of satiety. All these hormones go a little disarray, and that leads to, again, you craving for more sugary foods, more high calorie food, and all of that leads to weight gain in general. Um, Stressors, prolonged or chronic stress leads to metabolic slowdown, leading to insulin resistance, insulin sensitivity. It leads to disrupted sleep patterns, which leads to, again, hormonal imbalances impacting hunger as well. And all of that sort of keeps adding up over a period of time, leading to significant amount of weight gain. Mhm. I feel like the biggest risk factor here is the stress-induced binge eating. Uh, Stress can often override our hunger regulation, and we end up overeating a lot. And it also sort of puts us in a state of an addiction like mode. We are in this addiction like state where we are craving a lot of dopamine because of the stresses that are going through. So dopamine is a neurochemical that's in the brain that makes you feel um, really good. So somewhere we almost get addicted to uh, the high fat, the high sugar foods to sort of help us make us feel good, because we don't really know how to cope with stressors. And I think sorry, the emotional eating becomes a way of coping with the stressors we're going through, and all of that adds to your overall weight. So learning to deal with stress in a better way, learning to cope with stress in a better way is the need of the hour, and something that of course we'll be discussing today, so that we don't end up just depending on habits that aren't really working out for us. Habits like overeating, binge eating, certain addictions are a result of us trying to cope with stressors. They give us temporary relief, but then again, it ends up being really harmful for ourselves in the long run. So coming to the stress management strategies for weight loss. Um, before we sort of go ahead with our before we go ahead with understanding what strategies we have, I really wanted us to take a pause and reflect on how do we deal with stressors? How um, do we vent? Do we distract ourselves? Uh, do we face our challenges head on when we are when there's a significant demand or a significant challenge? Or is it a mix of all? Do we indulge in all sort of behaviors or none at all? Um, Hi, Michelle. I think Dr. J is here with us as well. We were just talking about, we just started with the stress management for our weight loss. We were trying to understand the importance of the impact of chronic stress, and now we're starting to understand the management strategies. And I just wanted to check with everybody who's here. How do we deal with our own stressors? Like personally, for me, I feel like I might use a lot of these, all three of them. Um, there are situations when I might just want to vent out. There are situations when I try to maybe temporarily distract myself. And of course, most of the time I try to deal with it head on. So people can have different ways and their own individual, unique ways of dealing with stressors as well. Um, but yeah, if somebody wants to volunteer and maybe talk about this, we can give a minute or two to this.
Well, I think there's bite-sized stress, and there's stress that's overwhelming, and then there's stress that's somewhere in the middle, at
Mhm.
least for me. So I think that the amount of stress in the situation is just going to sort of dictate how you deal with it. I mean, so I think that bite-sized stress, let's say it's, I don't know, one thing in an otherwise okay day, is
Mhm.
pretty manageable. But then when it starts stacking up and you start feeling maybe that it's getting overwhelming, I think that obviously the reaction is going to be different. So
Absolutely, absolutely. I think our stressors, the nature of our stress would dictate the way we're coping with it. I think that's a wonderful way to look at it. Um,
there's also the chronic stress that people deal with,
mhm,
right?
mhm,
So
mhm.
let's say it's a health problem. or
Absolutely.
a family
Absolutely.
member that has a health problem, or chronic stress from your job, chronic
Mhm.
stress from your home life. So there's acute stress and there's chronic stress. So
Mhm. True, true. So acute stressors like daily, like small minor adjustments, a new job, shifting your houses, maybe shifting a city will have a different kind of an emotional response or physical response as compared to chronic stressors. Like you said, if somebody is not well at home, they may be going through chronic conditions. There are severe issues that are happening. Of course, that would elicit a different kind of response for sure. Stresses are obviously they are either acute or they're chronic. And we were just discussing about how some stressors are good stressors, which help us stay motivated. They help us challenge ourselves. And then there are stressors that, if prolonged over a period of time, can be very difficult for our body and for our overall health. So, talking about steps to manage our stressors better, I think one of the most important things is setting, especially when you're working in your work settings and in life in general. I think it's very important to set realistic goals, and even when you're working on your weight, it's very important to set really realistic goals. You need to be very specific on things that you want to work. Your goal should be very concise. They should be very measurable. They should also be very realistic and achievable. They should not be very unrealistic. If you set unrealistic goals, then it can be very difficult to achieve them in the right amount of time, and then it makes you feel more demotivated. They need to be very relevant as well to the time and the place and the act that you're indulging in, and they need to be time bound as well. So setting smart goals, setting more realistic, achievable goals does help in managing your stresses because you're setting the right expectations in the first place. You're not trying to achieve a goal that's not achievable. Uh, and when you're trying to do things that are unrealistic, it puts you under significant amount of stressors. So just by adjusting our uh, perspective here can be very effective. Um, Not overcommitting to a lot of work uh, also helps a lot. Know what you can contribute to. Try to build boundaries. I think a lot of people struggle with building boundaries, not just at work, but also with their friends, with their families, or people in general, or situations in general. We end up overcommitting to a lot of situations, and that causes a lot of stress unnecessarily. Avoiding overcommitting, setting boundaries can be a very effective way of dealing with stresses. I know it's not easy and it doesn't come very naturally. Um, it can take a lot of time for that to happen, but the more we practice it, the more easier it gets. Learning to say no to situations that we don't really want to be a part of, I think, is also very necessary. You need to realize your personal limits. You need to know where to draw the line. And of course, celebrating small achievements in the go also helps in making you feel more motivated. Practicing gratitude is another very effective way of dealing with all the negative emotions that one might be going through. It's scientifically very valid at this in today's time. It's a lot of research has shown that gratitude in general um, helps us have a better perspective, a more positive perspective towards life. It makes us more happier. It makes us more healthier. People who are grateful, people who practice gratitude in general, have better, happier, more satisfied lives. So, learning to reframe negative thoughts, learning to reconstruct certain perspectives, um, being more grateful for things that are happening in our lives can be also a very effective way of managing our stressors. Um, Before we move ahead, I just wanted to ask all of us, maybe taking a pause here and reflecting on things we are grateful for. It could be anything. It could be something small, something as simple as you had a really nice cup of coffee in the evening today, or it could be something great, some major achievement that might have happened for you. are there things that we are grateful for here? I personally, I mean, I'm really grateful that I'm here and I'm part of this meeting and I'm getting to interact with all of you.
I'm grateful for the last year and a half that I've
Mhm.
taken on the journey of the weight loss that I've done with the surgery and everything, and grateful that I had such a support group, the support group that I had from family, from the personnel, the doctors, the everything. I'm very grateful for that. Otherwise, I don't think I would be where I am today in this journey and continuing on and keeping everything off if it weren't for all these people that supported me.
That's so heartwarming to hear. That's really nice. And I'm glad that you could find people and a support system that was so helpful for you in the entire weight loss journey. So yeah, I think it's knowing what we are grateful for, and being and sitting with that feeling of gratitude can be very helpful uh, in managing our stressors, and something that I would like you to practice on a regular basis if need be. A lot of people practice gratitude on a regular basis, and it does help them a lot. Um, I think before we talk about other ways of managing stressors as well, I think one of the major contributors is this feeling of not having enough time. Uh, this feeling like, oh, I'm so overwhelmed, I don't have enough time. There's so much work that I have to do, and there's this feeling of overwhelm that we don't have enough time is another major reasons why a lot of people are under a lot of stress. um, and sometimes even I might feel this way, and there have been situations where I felt that, oh, I have so much work and I don't feel like there's enough time for me to complete the work. Do we also feel this? Do we sort of relate with the feeling of not having enough time?
I think kind of feeds into this sense of being overwhelmed for some people, right? And that's kind of the difference, at least for me, between positive stress and negative stress. Positive stress is typically stress that you feel like you can handle
Mm-hmm.
less effectively, whereas negative stress is an overwhelming stress, the stress that is kind of, so I think that when you feel like you're overwhelmed is when you're getting behind. It's like that drowning.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I think on days when you are under that distress situation, when you are going through chronic or the so-called bad stress, I think the feeling like the time that you have is not enough, and you feel like you're just drowning, you're just too overwhelmed. I think that's when probably the feeling like there's not enough time does seep in. But yeah, if you're going through, let's say, the good stress, or stress that's challenging and motivating you, and you're feeling really good about your day, and you're accomplishing your tasks as well, you're able to sort of meet your deadlines, you're able to finish your targets. So yeah, that difference does seep in here. So yeah, time management becomes a very crucial aspect of stress management as well. um, we are often overwhelmed with the amount of work we have if we don't plan things better. And this is a simple matrix that does help us prioritize certain tasks. The Eisenhower matrix. You basically divide or look at work under two categories: either work being urgent and work being important. Um, so tasks that are urgent and important are tasks that need to be done on a priority basis. You do that immediately, right? Then there would be tasks that are not urgent, but they are important. So you plan it. You can do it over a period of time, maybe over the next week, next month. So you plan it, you put it in your calendar, you organize it, and maybe work around the plan that you've created. there might be a lot of work that is of course important, and it's urgent, but it's not very important. So you can often delegate a lot of these work to a lot of other people around you. And then there could be work that is neither urgent not important either. It's just there making us feel overwhelmed. So these are tasks that need to go. You need to delete these tasks, or maybe postpone it perpetually. So just looking at work or organizing tasks under the small matrix, using the small matrix, can be can be really effective. And this has personally helped me as well. When there's a lot of demands, I try to look at things from things that are more urgent and important. I try to do that immediately, and things that can wait are things that I usually plan out and prioritize. So, a very effective tool here. Also, what helps is breaking larger tasks into more manageable, smaller tasks. Because sometimes work can feel like a lot. So when you break it down into smaller chunks, it feels more doable. It helps us manage our time better and thereby our stress better. Um, Using planners, using apps, using to-do lists to stay organized can also be a very effective strategy. Now, another question for all of us. What do you think is worse for stress? Is it sleeping only 4 hours, eating junk food all day, or is it skipping exercise for a week?
I think sleeping only 4 hours.
Mm-hmm. Okay, okay. Um,
I think because when you don't sleep,
mhm,
you feel bad all
mhm,
day, and also for your weight loss journey,
mhm,
it's not good because when you know the body needs to sleep,
mhm,
it is
mhm,
part of the is part of the
mhm,
cycle of the body
mhm,
daily. So if you don't have good sleeping,
mhm,
you you will delay all your process. So I think that that is the main
mhm,
in that aspect.
mhm, mhm. Well, true. I think sleep does have a major impact. I think sleep is the foundation of your overall health. Uh, but I personally feel like I think all of them are not good at all for your overall health, for your stress. I think neither is sleeping 4 hours a day. It sort of creates a lot of stress for you. Eating junk food again will have a major impact on your overall health. Skipping exercise or not exercising at all for a week can also really derail you from the goal that you're trying to achieve, and can significant can actually worsen your stress levels. A lot of people feel really good when they exercise. So I think the question here, I put this question here because I wanted to get into another aspect of stress management, which is working on a lifestyle change. Apart from the cognitive and the behavioral changes that we just spoke about, I wanted to touch upon the lifestyle changes as well. Lifestyle change can significantly reduce our stress levels, and I've seen this in my practice. I've seen this over a period of in the last 4 years of my practice. I've been witnessing this, how people who manage their lifestyles better are more happier and healthier, and have also been able to achieve most of the health goals that they set out for themselves. um, so exercise. So we try to understand the role of exercise in stress management. Exercise helps reduce our cortisol levels, the adrenaline levels. We just spoke about this in one of the slides, as how whenever we are under any kind of stressor, our body produces hormones like cortisol and adrenaline, which in turn uh, dictates our physiological functions. So exercise tries to reduce the levels of these hormones that are impacting our body. It increases endorphins. Endorphins are happy hormones, the good hormones, which helps improving our mood. It helps reducing stressors. It helps regulate our appetite as well. So we're eating just the right amount of food. Our metabolism is really nice. So we're not overeating or we're not undereating. And exercise in general helps us build our resilience. We feel more capable. We feel more in control of our life. which helps us again all future stressors as well. So you're not just dealing with the current stressors when you're exercising, but you're also trying to uh, build your resources, psychological, physical, for whatever may come in the future as well. So so exercise is a great tool for stress management, and so is nutrition. Eating the right amount of food, and of course you can reach out to dietitians and nutritionists for this as well. But understanding how to eat a balanced meal is very important. Um, a balanced meal is a meal that has uh, the right amount of proteins, it has the right amount of fiber, it has the right amount of carbohydrates. So carbs are not really bad for you, carbs are necessary. So it has the right amount of carbs, it has the right amount of healthy fats. So eating a full balanced meal that helps us stabilize our blood sugar and mood is necessary. If you're eating foods that aren't very balanced, it does not really help with the sugar levels are again in a disarray. They're not very stabilized. There major spikes after in your glucose levels, your mood, and that can again impact your mood as well. So eating a more balanced food does help in stabilizing your blood sugar and your mood. A lot of foods that are rich in magnesium also help in the process of relaxation. They support relaxation. Foods like all your leafy greens, your nuts, your seeds are often rich in magnesium. Certain um, herbal teas like chamomile tea or ashwagandha tea again do have shown to promote calmness, etc. So our nutrition, our food, things that we're eating, things that we're consuming has an impact. When you're consuming a lot of vegetables, you're consuming fruits, you're consuming all these colorful uh, uh, natural foods. It does make you feel really good about yourself. It just in general, it feels really good for your brain, for your mood, as compared to when the food is really high in unhealthy fats. It's high in uh, very very high in carbs and sugar. It does give you a temporary relief, but then it doesn't. It's not good for your body and neither for your mood in the long run. And you do sort of feel that, and you can notice this difference every time you sort of maybe eat something healthy, and on days you're eating something unhealthy, you might notice this difference of how your body and your brain reacts to it. So nutrition again is important for stress management, and so is sleep. Like we were just talking about how lack of sleep impacts our appetite, how it impacts makes us eat more. We're feeling irritated. We're feeling um, very jittery, very anxious, probably the next day. We're feeling low on energy. Again, if you're feeling low, if you're not slept well, we're feeling low on energy. We're not able to meet the demands of the day. We're not able to work properly. All those things end up piling up. You have deadlines to meet. So this again, it creates a lot of overwhelm for you. So aiming to sleep for 7 to 9 hours is really important for your overall health. I cannot emphasize on this enough. Um, we in one of the last webinars we did at LeanDreams, we did speak about sleep management in depth. If you want, you can go and check out our YouTube video. I think it's there on YouTube. Um, However, I think just working on maintaining a consistent sleep schedule, limiting your screen time before bed are some of the easier ways of maybe working on sleep. But if you want to go in depth as to understanding how to manage sleep, you can check out our last video. But managing your sleep is really, really important for your overall health and your stress management. Another way of managing your stress could be mindfulness and relaxation techniques. There are a lot of relaxations and mindfulness techniques. We have something called the progressive muscle relaxation. It's a technique where you tense your muscles and then you relax those muscles. That helps you release all the physical stress that might be stored in your body. Practicing mindfulness. I think mindfulness is not just a big buzzword, but I think it's something that can be practiced very, on a day-to-day basis and doesn't take a lot of time as well. Mindfulness, in a sense, means you being in the present moment. you being in the present moment without thinking about what's happened in the past or anticipating something wrong that might happen today or in the future. So you're trying to be in the present moment, trying to cherish what you have by focusing on the activity that you're indulging in. So let's say if you're eating your food, um, you can eat your food more mindfully, right? You focus on the taste, the texture of the food, the flavors of the food. You're really relishing and enjoying the food that you're eating. Similarly, if you're going for a walk, you walk mindfully by engaging with the environment. You're not in your head all the time. Maybe you're noticing how your body moves. You're noticing the environment around you. You're noticing the wind on your the wind and the sun hitting your body. You're trying to focus on the way your body moves. So all of that would be smaller ways of practicing mindfulness on a day-to-day basis. You don't really need to go to the mountains to practice meditation. It can be done very simply in regular walks of our life. And of course, deep breathing exercises, um, different techniques to sort of different deep breathing techniques that can be effective here. We often follow this 4, 7, and 8 technique. You inhale for 4 seconds. You take a deep breath, you inhale for 4 seconds, you hold your breath for 7 seconds, and then you exhaled for 8 seconds. So this is another breathing techniques. There's another technique which is the 4-4-4 technique, where you try to hold. Inhale for 4 seconds, you hold for 4 seconds, then you exhale for 4 seconds. So that's another technique that can be practiced as well. So these breathing techniques, the different combination of breathing techniques does help us again come to the present moment, and it helps us relax ourselves. And I really was thinking that we can practice something here today in our session as well. So I really want us to practice, take the next 2-3 minutes, and we'll practice this breathing activity. So make sure that you're sitting comfortably right now. You can sit comfortably, just lay your feet flat on the ground, and your hands resting in your lap. You can close your eyes if you're comfortable. If not, you can keep your eyes open. And now you can take a slow, deep breath through your nose for the next 4 seconds. Hold your breath for 4 seconds and slowly exhale through your mouth for the next 6 seconds. You can keep doing this on repeat. I want you to do this a few times. Inhale, hold, and exhale. Inhale, hold, and slowly exhale through your mouth. I think this process of deep breathing can be very relaxing, can be very calming. And it's very easy to do. So you don't need a lot of time for this. Maybe a few minutes during the day, when you're starting out some work, maybe when you're taking a small break between work shifts. I think just doing a small breathing exercise can really put things into perspective for you. How did we feel though? I just wanted to check with all of us. How did that make you feel when you're trying to focus on your breathing? What any reflections from the activity?
It's definitely calming.
Yeah, I'm glad. I'm really glad.
Also, you think like also you can like think better when you are doing.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think there's another activity that I really wanted to try out with all of us. Um, it's called imagery. So an imagery or guided imagery can also be a very effective way of dealing with our stressors. Imagery is an exercise where you try to it does take a bit of mental work, but then it can have really relaxing impacts on your mind and your body. So we can maybe try this, and I'd like you to close your eyes. We'll do this for the next 3 to 5 minutes. Um, Try to close your eyes and start with taking a few deep breaths the way we were doing in the previous activity. So you inhale and then you exhale. Imagine a very peaceful place. Imagine a beach, maybe, a forest, a park, a meadow, something that brings you joy, a place that brings you peace. Maybe a certain corner of your house that you really like spending time in. Try to imagine that place. Try to imagine that you're in that place. What do you see when you're, let's say, at a beach, at the forest, at the place in your house where you're feeling very peaceful? What are the things that you can visualize right now? Do you see the sky, the sand, the water? Try to notice the things around you visually. What are some things that you hear now that you are in that place mentally? What are things that you hear? Do you hear certain sounds? The sounds of the wave if you're on a beach, the sound of birds. Are there other people in your imagery? Maybe the sounds of other people. Maybe the soft sound of the wind. What are some things that you feel in this moment now that you're here in your peaceful place? You're seeing things, you're hearing things. What are the things that you can feel? The warm feeling of the sun, the cool feeling of the breeze. If you're sitting down, maybe the feel of the couch you're sitting on. Try to be one with this place that you are thinking right now. Try to stay in the moment for a minute. You can continue breathing while you're trying to be in this peaceful place. And once you're ready, you can slowly bring your awareness back to the room, back to your body, back to the room, and back to our meeting as well. How does it feel if you're back in the meeting? How does it feel to practice imagery?
Really amazing. It's like relax and almost little sleep.
Yeah, imagery can do that. Imagery can really induce sleep because your body goes into this really calm state mentally and physically. And imagery can be a very powerful way to manage stressors in situations where you're feeling like there's not a lot of control. I'm glad. I'm glad.
Absolutely.
So again, practicing imagery. There are a lot of tools on the internet, a lot of freely available tools. You can just do a simple Google search on, or just go to YouTube. Maybe look for guided imagery, and maybe you can practice this on a regular basis. So something to try out and to add to our toolkit when it comes to managing stressors. Another very important aspect of stress management is the support system that we have. Our support system, and again, I do have a question for you here. Do you think having a strong support system can help reduce stress? Because I personally feel it can be very powerful way of managing our stressors and can be very effective. Um, Seeking out social connections, staying connected with your friends, with your family, can help you provide a space for your emotional outlet. Uh, can help you provide a place for your emotional relief. It can help you with different perspectives. It makes you feel supported, helps reduce the feelings of loneliness and isolation. And sometimes you can engage in shared activities together, which also helps you strengthen the relationship. So having more social support and reaching out for help can be very important. And the reason I really wanted to highlight this, that whenever we're going through stressors, we often feel like we are alone and we don't have anybody to talk about these things. We often feel like maybe it's my problem, so I need to deal with it all by myself. Um, and which is not true entirely, I think reaching out for help and seeking social support can only ease out the process for you. When you feel more supported, you're more the likelihood of you tackling the problem or the stressors that you're going through becomes more, and becomes more easier for you to do that as well. So connecting with your friends, with your family, um, engaging in hobbies and social activities. You're doing more enjoyable activities. You're painting. It could be music, it could be gardening, maybe sports if that's something that you like. Engaging in healthy distractions from stressors. So we were talking about how people learn different ways of coping with stressors. Some of us end up overeating, binge eating, but then again we end up getting addicted to certain things, and all those things aren't healthy distractions. They are bad for your health. So engaging in healthy distractions with people can be a nice way to deal with stressors. Socializing with like-minded individuals, people with whom you share common interests, can again provide a sense of belonging and purpose as well. Laughter and shared experiences help boost your mood. It helps reduce your cortisol levels. So if you are somebody who likes engaging in social activities, I think you should go for it, because it's really good for you. It's good for your mind and it's good for your body. And yeah, there might be situations when stress becomes too much to deal with, and um, in such situations, reaching out to a therapist, a counselor, a psychologist can be helpful. There are a lot of support groups as well. There are online support groups, there are offline support groups that again provide you a sense of shared experience. That you get valuable insights. It helps you manage your stress better. A lot of your organizations that you might be working with have their own coaching programs, their own mental health programs. So that's something that you can always find out and get in touch with um, the person, the point of contact, and see if they are providing you certain programs that can help you with certain professional guidance on managing your stress levels. So reaching out for help and support again is something not to be ashamed of, and something that can be very helpful in the process. And we're almost done with our presentation today. I just wanted to maybe end the session on by giving us some reflection, some homework exercises. Um, I think it's very important, uh, and this is my personal favorite as well, is maintaining a stress journal, keeping a journal of things that are overwhelming ourselves, keeping a journal of things that are bothering us. Um, identifying our triggers, what is the reason for the stress to happen. So are there certain triggers that are impacting or making me feel really aroused? How they impact? So what is the consequence of those triggers as well? How are they impacting my habits? Uh, how are they impacting my life in general? How do I behave when I am under those stressors? I think can be a great way of developing more self-awareness. And at the same time, I want you to maybe pick up one stress management technique that stood out for you in today's discussion. Maybe try that out whenever you're feeling overwhelmed with all the stressors and you're feeling the impact of stressors, or you're indulging in binge eating, etc. Maybe try out one of the stressors and see how it works for you. So this is a homework that I want you to do. And with this, we are done with our webinar. Do we have any questions before we wind up for today? Let's
Yeah,
stop
very,
sharing.
very nice talk. I have a comment. I maybe you want to address this, but it's not really it's kind of an open-ended comment. In my experience, a lot of stress comes from environments, and whether it's home life or jobs, it's situations that we feel sometimes are outside of our control. And that's what I was talking about earlier when it comes to sort of like this chronic stress, because I think a lot of times people feel helpless. They're just in a situation where, whether it's with family members, whether it's with a health condition, whether it's with a job that they have to do, right? There's a sense of helplessness.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that all of the things that you've talked about during this talk, whether it's grounding yourself, reminding yourself what you're grateful for, practicing these different exercises, I think are important, but it's still sometimes a lot of this chronic stress can be overwhelming. So, I would echo what you said a minute ago, which is that there's a lot of resources out there to help, and that you're not alone. And whether it's with your health or your weight or your mental health, don't be afraid to ask for help. There's a lot of people out there that are going through tough circumstances. Every circumstance is unique, right? So no one's ever going to say, "Oh, I understand what you're going through," because no, I don't, right? Like every circumstance is unique, but a lot of people are going through tough situations, and we try to help each other out the best we can. So, if anybody in our group or just out there in general ever needs, one-on-one or another support group or anything like that, just feel free to reach out to us.
Absolutely, Dr. Shay. I think people have their own unique circumstances, and we're definitely not alone. We are really hesitant to reach out, but there's a lot of help, like you said. And yes, please feel to reach out whenever there are things that are bothering you. We are here to help you.
One of my stressors that I have like going on now is my mom aging and trying to help her, with just living a daily life. So that's like one of the biggest stressors that I have going on right now. And it's really difficult because my brother is out of state. So it's just basically me helping her. And that's like, how do you say no to your mom? Basically, you know what I mean? It's like, no,
I
mom,
know.
I can't help you when you're the only one that can help her. It's, that's like the one thing that I am having like right now. My biggest stress is trying to work in being able to continue doing my things that I need to do, but also fitting her into what needs to get done to make sure that she's safe.
Mhm, mhm, mhm. They can feel very overwhelming, Michelle, for sure. I think there's too much. There's already a lot on your plate, and then you're trying to manage a lot. And of course, you can't say no. There's a lot on your plate as well. And yeah, hopefully, I think things we discussed today help you manage some of it better, I believe.
Definitely, there's a couple of different things that I really took away that I'm going to be able to utilize, especially the last one that we did with the before I go to bed. I have a hard time of like decompressing. I may be sitting there decompressing, but my mind keeps going and going and going. So the whole breathing and the imagining where I'm at and all of that stuff, I think is going to help tremendously for being able to decompress at night.
Yeah, I hope it helps. I hope it helps. And if there are issues, you can always reach out, Michelle, and we can definitely work on other things that you might be going through.
Thank you.
And thanks for sharing also, Michelle. I know it's not easy sometimes to speak about it, but I'm glad you shared and you found the space to be safe and comfortable for you to open up about things that you're going through right now.
Thank you very much for everything that you have shared with us, Nihit. Thank you for the time, for everything very clear. And also you feel like relaxed with all your activity that you share with us with this high value information that will help us optimize our stress management. So thank you so much for sharing all your knowledge with us.
Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you so much for having me here. It was wonderful.
All right. Well, have a good evening, everybody.
Thank you.
Good evening,
Thank you.
everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.